Hi everyone, this is Hamza from Moving Forward. So today we are here with a new episode of Forward. It's a series of discussion that we have with professionals that are based in the UK and also beyond UK as well, where they share their experience, their career journeys with us, and also the information and advice that can help other people as well. Today we have with us the guest, Mr. Hamza Chaudhry, who is based in London, originally from Pakistan, and he's a very close friend of mine. I have known him since back, in the university days, and it's great that we have him today. Thank you, Hamza, for coming to our show today. Let's
Not a
start.
problem.
Let's
Always a
start
pleasure
with.
speaking to you.
Thank you for that. Let's start with the introduction. Let's start with your introduction, Hamza.
Yeah, hi everybody. As Hamza has already said, my name is also Hamza. I am a business graduate. Basically I did my bachelor's in business administration, and then I came to the UK to basically do my master's, which was in digital transformation. So I was always someone who wanted to learn more about technology, more about business. So doing this master's was basically my way of kind of complementing my business degree with some bit of tech knowledge. So I did my master's here in the UK, and I was also fortunate enough to spend an exchange semester in France for that uh, during my master's degree. Now I'm back in London, back in the UK, and I have started working with a financial services company. They're a financial technology consulting company, basically. And I am working as a sales and research associate there.
Wow, amazing! Such a diverse experience, and that's really interesting. And just on the the side note, we studied from the same university, and wherever we used to, like in most of the places we used to go together as well. And it used to be funny that when we used to introduce ourselves, I was also used to say I'm Hamza, and then we also had other
Yeah.
Hamza as well. So there always used to be interesting situation. So thank you for the introduction. Can you share what was it that attracted you toward the tech sales primarily? I know you worked in sales, you worked in account management as well, but what was it that made you choose tech sales?
So basically, when I started after my graduation from IBA, when we both graduated, Hamza, you must remember it was during the COVID time. So
Absolutely,
during
yeah.
we graduated in 2020, it was August, COVID was completely at peak. So the job market was already a bit dull at the time, but as we all kind of know at this time that during the COVID era, tech really boomed. So some of the tech companies were started booming because they were providing services online. There was no like physical interaction, so tech companies were booming at the time. So my although I had an interest in technology for a long time, but at the time, I was just honestly speaking, just looking for a job. And it didn't matter to me at the time what industry I found the job in. I was looking for a job. I did fortunately find a job actually in tech. So I started working for this company in Lahore, started my career in Pakistan. So the company was in Lahore, where I started working in account management and customer success. So that was sort of my first practical introduction to the world of tech, to the world of SaaS, software as a service, product management, all of that. And working in that company for 2 years, I started learning more about cloud. I started learning more about how SaaS model works, how basically these companies are developing products, what monthly recurring revenue is, all of these things. And it kind of started piquing my interest into the sales side of thing because honestly speaking, I had in that team, I was doing good in account management as well, but I had a few friends in sales who were working in sales. And I liked their job very much. So even when I was in customer success, I just joined demos with them, customer demos, live customer demos, started supporting some of those salespeople. And I actually liked the fact about how you're convincing people, basically. You're convincing people that my product is the one that you need. This is something that will actually do the work for you. And I believe that actually when you are a salesperson, you can be a salesperson who just tries to sell to everyone. But if you strategically do it, you are actually trying to solve a problem for someone. Your customer has a problem that your product can solve, so you're actually helping them at the same time as helping yourself and your company. So that was something really attractive to me. I went into the sales field with that same company, moved from account management into sales, and kind of never looked back. So after that, I now consider myself, I've been in sales for about 3 4 years now, tech sales. Now I think I consider myself a full-fledged salesperson, not an account management person anymore.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
that makes perfect sense. I think back in the days as well, like based on my experience, I could tell that you did have that flair for sales. So I think yeah, it's something which a field where you are using your skills and you're good at it as well. So that's amazing. And you initially you studied from Pakistan, obviously, and then you worked in Pakistan for a bit as well. Then you moved to the UK for masters. How was the experience of moving to the UK for masters for you?
I think it was good overall. I mean, if you remember, Hamza, at the time when we were graduating, even before graduating, my initial thought was that right after my bachelor's, I would just go for a master's. So that is what I was thinking initially, but COVID had other plans basically. So I have started working. But now, when I basically look back after 3 years, I do think that it was actually beneficial for me to have that sort of working experience and then go for a master's, because if I just directly jumped into a master, I wouldn't have that sales knowledge. I wouldn't have that account management knowledge. Everything that I learned wouldn't be there. But overall, it was always like something that I wanted to do. One thing obviously was, learning more about the world, going to a different economy, going to a different market, learning about how people work there. So that element was always there. But at the same time, it was, kind of enhancing my career as well. So I did think doing a master's would be something that propels me to the next level of my career. So that is one thing. That is pretty much the reason why I chose to do a master's. And once again, I chose it in digital transformation because I wanted that link between my business side and technology side to remain. So that was the story there.
Makes sense. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, you had that in mind. And would you say your experience back in Pakistan, did that help when you were looking for jobs after your master's in the UK?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So one of the things was that even though I was working for a Pakistani company, I was mostly dealing with American clients. So the territory, as in sales, you were assigned a territory. So the territory that I was assigned was America and Canada and a bit of Mexico as well. So I was already working with American clients. So I mean, working with international clients was an experience that I could use here, but not to discourage anyone who is working with Pakistani clients as well. If you have work experience in a particular area, that work experience is counted everywhere in the world. You just have to be, strong enough and knowledgeable enough to basically show that you know about stuff, you know what you're talking about. It doesn't matter if the experience is in Pakistan or if it's in London, it does help you at the end of the day. It is counted towards any job interviews you'll do or any new job you'll do, basically.
Makes sense. Yes, I can see like obviously that experience really helped you, and that made your profile really, really strong. And generally, if I see a lot of people who come to the UK as international student, they do degrees, especially for salespeople. And primarily some of the salespeople, obviously they are field based, but a lot of times now I've seen there's a lot of focus on tech sales. That's something that people want to pursue more. Um, why do you think generally there is more interest towards tech sales as compared to field sales in the UK?
I think, living in a city like London, you know, how the weather is, Hamza. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to be someone who has a job on the field and I have to go out where it's raining the whole day. I would like to sit at home with my laptop in front of me that I can do my work on. So, I mean, that is one of the reasons I think. Plus, also the fact is, when you're doing field sales, it is obviously a great job. It is something that runs our economy, people selling on the field as well. But the overall transition, the same macro transition that we're seeing how people work is basically transitioning from the physical workspace to an online workspace to a remote workspace at the same time. Physical field sales transitioning into online sales. I believe that's just the macro sort of transition that the world is going through. So more and more field sales are becoming more and more online sales. People don't knock on doors anymore and sell stuff. They still do, but not at the same kind of rate that it was done maybe let's say 20 years ago. So I think that's one transition. But also with a lot of technical sales, with a lot of software sales that you're doing, you can pretty much showcase your entire product online in the same way that you would do in person. Maybe sometimes even better, because you in your office you have that whole technology staff, you have everyone who needs your help. When you're actually going on the field, you're what, maybe bringing two people with you at max, or sometimes you're alone doing all of that. So doing it online in an environment where you're comfortable, where you have all of the support you would need, versus doing it in field where it's actually, uh, a do or die moment sort of, I think that's where more people are moving towards an online sales model.
Yeah. Even though I work in field sales myself, but I can, yeah, tell you, I can absolutely agree with you. I think a lot of shift is now towards maybe, even for the field sales people as well, it's towards the hybrid kind of work.
Yep.
So that's because, like you mentioned as well, for you to leverage, your resources as well, online tools as well that are available as well. Yeah, you're spot on, about that. In your role specifically, because you work in tech sales, is there any element of work that's involved where you have to go and meet clients as well, or is it all virtual that you do?
No, so it does involve an element where people go and meet clients as well. So what's happening with my current role at the moment is that I've joined this company, my current role about 4 or 5 months ago. So my role hasn't exactly matured to the level where I am personally going out and meeting clients, but all most of the senior salespeople that already are in the team, they generally do go out, meet clients, and that's mainly what they're trying to do is not sell on the spot when they're meeting the clients, but it's just to build that reputation, build that rapport, maybe go out for a lunch, go out for a coffee, go to their office, discuss some projects. That is still happening, but a lot of the sales is still focused online. So I am personally not meeting clients in person, but a lot of the senior salespeople are, yes.
Makes sense. So there's an aspect which might come later on in your role where you going out as well and spending time with the prospects or the
Yeah,
clients as well. That's
true.
great. And we were talking about your, university time and then how you, got into, your this role as well, um, into this tech sales. And I was wondering what advice would you give, to someone who is, right now at a university stage or early in their career and they want to build their career in tech sales, whether in UK or outside UK. What is something that, worked for you that you would want to advise other people as well?
Difficult question, but I would say consistency for sure. You have to be consistent, not losing hope, keeping that motivation up is basically, if I'm specifically speaking about tech sales, but this is why this advice might be applicable to other areas as well. But generally speaking, for tech sales, I mean, even when basically what I'm trying to say is, when you're trying to convince someone that you can do the job, show them that you can do the job, basically. So if you are in tech sales, don't hesitate to pick up the phone and actually call the hiring manager. I mean, if you have been in tech sales for some time, you know how to find numbers and you know how to find emails, right? So don't be afraid to pick up the phone, call the person. If the person, obviously don't call a recruiter or an HR professional doing that, because they probably won't appreciate it. But if the hiring manager on the other side is also someone who is in sales, which he probably will be, he's aware of this. He does this for a living as well. So don't be afraid to pick up the phone. Don't be afraid to write a personalized email specifically to them. Don't be afraid to do your research, not just on the company but on the hiring manager as well. And when you actually write them an email saying, hey, I've applied for this job, I would love to work for you because I know you've worked for XYZ company previously and I know you've delivered this project for them, and I really appreciate the fact that you've done this for them, and I would like to work with someone like you. So make it personalized, do those outreaches, don't just apply on LinkedIn. you know I personally am someone, I've changed my strategy of applying to jobs very much. Like, I kept applying for almost, I think, 6 7 months at the least, to find the job where I am right now. And initially I was doing volume based application, just applying to every job that I see on LinkedIn, but then I slowly started to change my strategy, apply to only, let's say, 3 jobs every day, but my applications were very, very personalized. I changed my cover letter for all of them, based on the job, based on the company, what they were doing. And of course, nowadays, use ChatGPT. Honestly, that's a big help that you can get. Use ChatGPT, write your cover letters. ask it to do your CV assessment, ask it to do, match your CV with the job spec, ask it to give you keywords to put on your CV, do all of those things. But never, ever, ever write a cover letter from ChatGPT and send it straight to a recruiter. Never do
Because
that.
it would,
Always,
yeah, it would end up, saying something like unlock your potential by hiring me.
yeah,
So
yeah. True. So always keep the human touch in your cover letters, but definitely use AI tools wherever you can.
yeah, I think one thing which I, I can get from, your advice is definitely to put in more time, more effort. So not to, use the same cover letter for every place that you apply to. I think that goes the long way. And getting a job as an international student in the UK is one thing. Obviously, it is not an easy thing, depending upon, your experience and your profile, and the industry as well. Obviously, the opportunities vary. But let's take a step further. Uh, every international student almost has this objective of also getting a job, but also getting a sponsored job as well. Is there anything that you would advise people based on your experience, as you're currently working on a sponsored route in the UK? Anything else on top of what you mentioned that can help people get, closer to that objective of getting a sponsored job in the UK?
I think once again, fact of the matter is that, it is difficult getting a sponsor job. I mean, I wouldn't want to sugarcoat it for anyone. It is a difficult thing getting a sponsor job. I have been through many interview processes myself where I was, this close to the offer, but it got redacted or I was rejected because I needed a sponsorship, especially in the field of tech sales. Because, I mean, it's understandable that when you're trying to sell to a market, you would want someone like yourself, someone from the same country, someone who speaks like you, someone who looks like you, to basically sell that product for you. It just builds rapport. It's not racism, it's not anything, it just builds rapport with the customer. So that is one thing that's true. But in tech sales, I have seen companies do basically this thing where they hire someone, and since most of the students will have access to a graduate visa, so you can work for that company for 2 years on a graduate visa, show them that you are able to deliver the results, and most of the times companies will sponsor you at the end of that graduate visa. It is difficult to have a company sponsor you right off the bat when you're on a student visa, when you're starting the job. It is going to be that a bit difficult, but have that confidence in yourself that when you keep delivering for 2 years, you will get the sponsorship. That's for sure. One thing I do want to add on that is the fact that do your own research as well, for sure. So there are applications online, there are tools online that will show you how many certificates of sponsorship a company has issued over the past, let's say, 1 year or 2 years. So see if the company is actually sponsoring before you accept this offer and before you sell yourself this dream that, oh, I will be sponsored after 2 years. So do your own research, check the company's register online, the sponsorship register online, whatever it's called. See if your company actually has a sponsorship license. Will they be able to sponsor you after 2 years? And also use those online applications to check how many sponsorships they have offered in the past year, and actually have that conversation with the hiring manager at the time of hiring, saying, "Oh, I don't need a visa for 2 years." Have that conversation. I don't need a visa for 2 years, but after 2 years, I will need you to sponsor me. If I keep delivering on results, I want the commitment that you will sponsor me. To have that conversation upfront.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. The points that you mentioned, I think, yeah, they can be really helpful for people who are looking for sponsored jobs in the UK. And you mentioned you recently started with a new company 4 or 5 months ago. Uh, tell us about your, considerably new job. What is it that exactly that you do?
So, my company is basically a financial services consultancy, and they provide technology consultancy for some of the largest tier one banks in the world. So they're working with sorry. So they're working with some of the largest banks. What they're doing is providing technology consulting services for front office applications, risk applications, some quantitative services. So very specialized in the capital market domain. And what my role is basically is to basically since I'm a salesperson, my role is to go to these banks, build those rapport, build that client relationship with these banks, and then essentially win a new project. So let's suppose they're upgrading some of their applications, or they want a cloud migration, or anything related to that. I win that project and then go back with my team, build the team around that project, the team that is actually going to work on that, development people, project managers, business analysts, build that team around that, and have that team deliver to the client, then ensuring that the project is delivered on time, the team is working on time. Basically, the same consulting thing, but I am sort of the uh, person who wins the project and then make sure the project is delivered on time.
Nice. It's for, it's combination of sales and then also bits of account management as well, project management as
Yep,
well.
yep.
Nice. And previously you worked for a company which was primarily, I think, US based. So how would you describe, the the UK tech industry as compared to the US industry? Did you feel any difference or did you see anything that's unique in this space?
I think from a very, very salesy point of view, the market in the US is very direct, very, very sales mature market. So people don't have a lot of time. They want you to get to the point very fast, very quick. Tell them what you can do for them. If you can't deliver anything, they will, not waste more time with you, basically. But the market in the UK is a bit different from the point of view that people are generally more polite. People are generally more receptive to what you're trying to sell to them, so they will give you their time. They will generally speak to you. They're very polite people. So if you have that faith in yourself and have that faith in what you're selling as well at the same time, so it's, I believe, a bit easier to sell in the UK compared to the US because the market there will be a bit more blunt than in the UK. But overall, I think my experience with both of these markets has been great overall. I wouldn't say I prefer one over the other.
Yeah, so I think it's probably the cultural aspect as well. I think Britishers are generally, a bit more polite. Uh, so I think it's probably that's something that you also see from customer point of view as well.
Yep.
And in terms of your sales approach, um, what is your standard approach that you follow for your sales generally?
Generally, I mean, you obviously, when you're trying to bring in a new client, you start off with your research. So you don't, before even reaching out to the client, you start off with your research. I mean, since in my current company, this might be different for obviously depending on what industry you're working in and stuff. But currently, what we do is, so if we want to bring in a new logo client, we'll start doing the research on that client. So who is trying to understand who is the buyer actually, because these are large organizations. Whenever you're selling to enterprises, you need to understand who the buyer is because there will be so many layers of decision makers. There will be procurement involved and IT involved and finance involved and blah, blah, blah. So you need to understand who the actual decision maker is. It could be, at the end of the day, it could be the CIO, the chief information officer. And obviously, it's difficult reaching to that level, getting connected to the CIO. But just understanding who the decision maker is a big, big thing in sales. So who is actually going to make the decision? Is the person who I'm talking to right now, is he just an evaluator? Is he an influencer? Is he going to be the decision maker? Who is he? So getting that research done before you actually reach out to the client is something that you should do. Obviously, when you start reaching out, you keep doing that research, you keep understanding more and more and more, and you change your strategy accordingly. But do that research and then start reaching out to people. Start at the bottom, I would say, but this is just my strategy. Of course, I'm also a student in this as well. So my strategy is basically start at the bottom, start reaching out to the people at the lower spectrum of, managers, line managers, people who are actually going to be using the stuff you're providing. And then slowly, 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 when you start building that rapport, you slowly move up the layers and then finally get to the decision maker and eventually get a chance to pitch your project and hopefully sell.
Oh, yeah, this it sounds like quite a structured approach. Amazing. And obviously, big part of sales is also objection handling. That also comes with the role as well. In terms of your approach for the objection handling, uh, do you face a lot of objection when it comes to customers? If what sort of approach do you follow for to get through that?
Yes, yes. I mean, of course, every customer will have objections. Some of them will be, oh, I don't have time. Some of them will be, I don't have budget. Some of them will be, oh, I don't even need this. So objection handling is what sales is basically. And I mean, whenever you're handling any objection, it could be as simple as send me an email, or it could be as big as I don't even have the budget for this. So whenever you're handling the objection, try to get more context out of it. Like why would you, like, if you're on a cold call with someone, let's suppose, and they say send me an email, I don't have the time. I would generally ask them, okay, what would you like to see in that email? Then they start talking. Then they start talking. Oh, I would like to see this. I would like to see this. I would like to see this. Not the other things you mentioned. So now you know what their priorities are. Now you know that he wants to see this in the email. Now you know these are the priorities for the customer. So you tailor an email specifically based on those points. And the next time you call them, you only talk about those points, even though you personally think, oh, this is a star feature of my product, but the customer didn't mention it. Get rid of it. You don't need to mention it. You don't need to talk about it. Just talk about his priorities. So I think in any sales conversation, the biggest piece is the discovery. So discovering what the customer's pain point is. You can talk about all of your product's features, you can talk about all of the shiny new things in your product, but they don't matter if they're not solving the customer's pain. So discovering what the pain is the biggest thing. Even when a customer is rejecting you, even if you think that there is no way I can handle this objection and these cases will arise, just get more context out of the situation. Okay, what do you mean by that? Ask open-ended question, let the customer speak. Okay, what do you mean by that? What would it mean to you if you could improve on this metric? What is, if they're saying, oh, I love my current solution, I don't want to change. Okay, what is the one thing, if you could improve on your current solution, what is the one thing you would improve on? Let them talk. Give open-ended questions, let them talk. Get more context around the situation.
Wow, that's really insightful. Thank you for sharing that. And this is a general question. I think for people in tech sales and also for anyone who's doing sales of any kind. Uh, what sort of platforms do you use for sales? I know a lot of people would be using LinkedIn. They'll be using LinkedIn Sales Navigator as well. Uh, are there any more platforms like that, and how do they generally work?
So LinkedIn is obviously a gold mine. LinkedIn is where you do all of your sales. If you're doing it online, LinkedIn is the go-to platform. But also at the same time, you can't just use LinkedIn. You need to use other platforms as well. So my approach, not in this company because right now the sales I'm doing are a bit different, but previously the process that we basically used to follow that was, using Sales Navigator, building sort of a targeted list of our customers from Sales Navigator, and then getting contact details for all of them out of Seamless or something like Zoom Info. So Zoom Info, Seamless, Cognism, these are some of the platforms. Lucia as well. These are some of the platforms that can help you get the contact details of your targeted list. Then obviously you start reaching out to them via direct emails as well. But you can also use platforms like Outreach and Outplay to set up automated sequences that automatically just keep sending out emails and sending out messages on LinkedIn and connection requests, etc. So you don't have to do that for all of the people that you are in your list. And then you can obviously keep following up with people who actually respond to those emails. So that is generally what we use. And of course, you need a CRM solution in the middle somewhere. So all of this needs to be recorded in a CRM solution. That is probably the most important part of sales, uh,
Yeah,
documentation at least.
yeah, I think those are quite a few platforms that you mentioned. I think, yeah, that's really helpful. Just one question that I had, for this was especially, the platforms where you can find contact details of other businesses or business owners. Are they usually compliant with GDPR, or is if someone else is using them, to get information of business owners, how does GDPR affect the sales process?
So, firstly, because you're using a service from a third party, you don't need to personally worry about GDPR compliance. You're not like you're not storing the contact information of the person. Zoom Info is storing the contact information of the person. And most of the people, like me personally, I am on Zoom Info, so you can probably find my number on Zoom Info. So most of the people that are on those platforms, Zoom Info does send out an email to those people saying, oh, we have your information, we're storing your information for this purposes. You can remove those information by clicking on this link. Most of the people ignore that email, which is, I believe, why Zoom Info platforms like Zoom Info work. Because you just see an email in your inbox from Zoom Info, you think it's spam, you get rid of it. So they actually have sent everyone an email, everyone who is on their platform, they actually have sent a notice saying you are on our platform, we are storing your information, we'll be using it for this purpose. You can remove it if you want to. So everyone has the right to remove their information of Zoom info, but people don't do it. That's where we get their numbers basically from. So you don't need to worry about the GDPR compliance. It's Zoom info that needs to worry about it.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Thank you for explaining that. And I think the advices and the tips that you have shared, they're really really helpful, and I am hopeful that they'll help a lot of people as well. And one last question that I also wanted to ask was, what advice would you give to your younger self, let's say 5 years ago, um, based on the career journey, professional journey that you had over the time?
Okay, that is probably the most difficult question, but if I could beat my younger self, I would probably tell him, don't be afraid. Honestly, don't be afraid of losing, because I think personally I am someone who's lost a lot of things because of the fear of losing. So I was afraid of losing my well-settled job, so I didn't never started a business, for example. So I mean, when you're young, when you're during your education years, when you're doing all of this, you don't have a family to deal with everything. I mean, that is the time when you're basically able to take some risk. Take those risks. Don't be afraid of basically reaching out to people. Don't be afraid of networking. Don't be afraid of going out of your comfort zone and actually trying to improve yourself. That is, I think, an advice I would give.
Yeah, I think those are surely golden words. So, thank you so much, Hamza. I think this session was great, and I'm pretty sure this would be super helpful for people who are listening. Um, you know, in the UK, or you know outside the UK as well. And if people want to reach out to you, to get further advice on something or to network, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
My LinkedIn would be the best way.
Perfect. So what we'll do is we'll also add your LinkedIn profile link in the show notes so people can get in touch with you, and connect with you further. So thank you so much, Hamza, once again for your time. It was lovely, and we will definitely, be looking forward to having you again in our, sessions as well in the future. And have a great, great evening, and we'll speak to you, looking forward to speaking with you soon as well. So, thank you everyone for listening to the show. I hope that this is helpful for everyone who's listening, and stay tuned for the new upcoming episodes of Moving Forward. Thank you.
Thank you.